MJF is out and he insults Colorado. It's the most boring place in the world. This place sucks. And he says he's also bored with the competition. No one is at his level. So out comes Adam Cole. And in the big heel move, he cuts off Adam Cole from doing his Adam Cole Bebe in the ring, which for the guy standing in the ring, this is quite the choreographed extended entrance that the man has mapped out for himself every time to walk out. Hitting
it works though.
It does work, but I mean, if you're the guy in the ring, I mean, you could understand getting annoyed at this thing you got to just sit through. So MJF starts off. He says he's a big fan of Adam Cole's and said that he thought his fandom was over after CM Punk left in 2014. But then he flipped on and found Ring of Honor. And he thought Ring of Honor sucked with a bunch of indie jabronis. But as soon as he was about to turn the channel, he saw Adam Cole. And he started studying Cole and thinking that this guy was what was the best guy out there, and studied his work in CZW. He saw him become the hottest free agent, then go down to Florida where he shocked the system and was Shawn Michaels' hand-picked guy and the best champion in the history of that company, and that's undisputed. So MJF started training and he followed in his footsteps. He too went to CZW and worked with top names on the indies, signed with AEW, and knew that Adam Cole would eventually jump here and they would have the rivalry of a lifetime. But then this guy showed up. What happened to you? And he says that Adam Cole has been at home, hiding, playing video games, and looking like a virgin edition of Gollum. He says that Britt Baker has his balls in his purse.
A virgin edition of Gollum?
A virgin Gollum.
Oh, a virgin Gollum. Well, do we know Gollum's not a virgin?
It's never been confirmed.
I never watched those movies. Yeah, how do we know, Gollum's game?
Yeah, I mean,
we don't.
He's got one ring to rule them all, but does he have that mate as well? I don't think he ever procreated.
I'll take your word for it.
It's an assumption on MJF's part, to say the very least.
Come on.
Yeah. Britt Baker, has his balls in his purse, and then says that you used to have the body and the physique of a world champion. Now you're so frail, you make crack whores jealous. And I see the online criticism of the company not handling you properly. And you people don't know what you're talking about. This company has done everything to make you look cool, from the lights, the music. They even gave you your own reality show. You know what they do to make MJF look cool? They ring the bell. I've had the greatest dog collar match, greatest Iron Man match, best four-way match, and beaten all the top guys. Why are you going to be doing any different? And I read a rumor that the reason you came here is because someone in Titan Towers didn't think you had top guy potential. And that man is Vince McMahon. And this crowd boos Vince McMahon. They chant, fuck that guy. MJF's a big fan of Vince and thought that Vince had maybe lost his marbles when he said that. But then he got a closer look at Adam Cole and thought maybe Vince was right. Cole comes back, and my God, does he have to have a comeback here. He says that MJF, this is all you've got. This is the big bad MJF that tears people down. You just come across like a toxic social media troll. Why are you so obsessed with other people's relationships? I know your fiance left you, and you are world-class MJF, a world-class douchebag, and says that MJF can't touch his matches or his promos, and then issues a challenge, but not any challenge, to a urine test. Let's see who's on the gas and who's not. Who's natural? And then he buries MJF, saying there's not one person in the back that respects you. Everyone thinks you do the bare minimum to earn your paycheck. No one has any respect for you. And MJF calls him Keith Lee's manager. So Cole calls that a false narrative. And if you were a real champion, you'd be challenging me to a fight. And you're not doing that because you're a coward. So Cole says, you won't fight me because I'm better than you, and they know it. So MJF loses it here and says he'll fight him anytime, anywhere. And Cole says, well, it looks like we have a match. Wai, what did you think of this promo segment?
I mean, I'm seeing a few, people criticizing it in the chat room. I thought it was tremendous. I thought it was great. But judging by the look on your face, you're probably on the other end. I thought it was great because I thought it was exactly the type of thing Adam Cole needed in this babyface run. Throughout the entirety of the Jericho feud, throughout the entirety of an All Access, I know the point is to push him as a babyface, and I know he has a tremendous real comeback story to tell. But the reason why we all fell in love with Adam Cole was because he was an edgy heel asshole. And we got to see a little bit of that asshole come out here, or at least, somebody with a bit of firepower and a bit of edge in him in a babyface light. And it takes somebody like an MJF who is that much more of an asshole to drag it out of an Adam Cole. There were some very controversial lines, I suppose, you could say. Certainly no wrestler in AEW, to my knowledge, has called another person out on screen for being on steroids, and we had it here. I certainly think there are questions to be asked about like whether or not you want publicly to accuse your world champion of something like that. At the same time, MJF promos are very much like rap battles where there are no limits. Really, anything goes. Almost anything goes, but a lot goes. And I think it's about time that a babyface had to, kind of play dirty to kind of match MJF's firepower.
I wasn't crazy about the steroid line, but it wasn't my bigger issue was that this segment in this vacuum, like if I would think even people that like are following this closely, like your read on this would be this dude was fired by WWE and he is not like a star. And to me, it's just I would never want that to be the perception of my babyface. Like he doesn't have the look. He does like we are still playing by the Vince McMahon style of what a star is or is not. Instead of here is a guy that has come in and he has beaten all these guys and he beat Chris Jericho and he is like not just defending, but outright showing the audience like this is all bullshit claims that MJF is making. And I don't know if the audience is necessarily taking that. Like that here's a guy that has come in and he has not become the blowaway babyface star that he has been given lots of push by AEW. He has like a lot of what MJF was saying here. I don't know if the audience was necessarily calling bullshit on these critiques of Adam Cole. Or the fact that this audience knows that, yeah, Vince McMahon did not see this guy as a big star. But nonetheless, this was the guy that chose to leave NXT, chose to leave WWE because they screwed up. They got rid of, or they missed the boat on this generational talent. That is what I think could have been conveyed a bit stronger here, rather than here is a cast off from Vince McMahon's version of professional wrestling that we're still going to give this spotlight is still the major leagues of all professional wrestling.
I feel like it's decently established to your average AEW fan that Vince McMahon has terrible taste. And I think it kind of goes like really kind of without saying that, like there are a lot of people that Vince McMahon doesn't really see star power in that have ended up being stars. I mean, he put over the fact that he's Shawn Michaels' chosen talent. And I think the average AEW fan holds a lot more weight in Shawn Michaels' opinion than Vince McMahon's. So I didn't necessarily think that was like, a detrimental insult from MJF.
I think maybe this would have come across a bit differently 2 years ago when I think WWE was looked at as more out of touch and not connecting with the wrestling fan, as opposed to today where I don't sense that is the same feel that here's a company that's doing pretty hot right now and their biggest star is a former AEW star. Like they seem like, but here's the company that does have their finger on the pulse much more today and is the hot company.
Sure, but MJF is referring to a time when Cole was a part of a prior regime, and he was not a pick for that particular regime. I feel pretty confident in saying that if Hunter had his choice, he would have picked Adam Cole back up.
What about the line about you, like you're looking frail, like you don't have the body anymore?
Yeah. So I took that to mean like he's injury prone, like just coming off of the several concussions. It's kind of how I took it. But I mean, I guess what you're saying it's because like he looks small and that's the
I didn't know really what the purpose of the line was, because to me it's sort of like it's not as though there's some like comeback there. It's not
the comeback was calling MJF out for being on steroids.
Well, I don't know. It was, I guess that was the setup then for the steroid line. I don't know. It's like I don't like the overall just, you know, you couldn't make it in WWE like leniency that this promo had on it. But I think ultimately you grade this on, did this enhance Adam Cole as a babyface star for the audience? And the audience certainly reacted to all of these lines. And like, do you feel like here is a viable babyface that Adam Cole is more in that role than he was a week ago from this?
I really do. I really do. And because this is a segment that, to me, again, showcased like what is actually special about Adam Cole. Yes, he's tremendous in ring, but I think he's more exceptional for his ability to play this sort of like, you know, guy who could go toe to toe, like talk trash against the best of them. And I think it's more than what he showed throughout the entirety of the Jericho feud, at least.
Would you have had the steroid line in here? Do you think it opens them up to like any criticism?
It's definitely like something you can question and something you can debate. And I wonder, like, you know, what Tony was thinking when he, you know, likely approved it. I'm sure, you know, MJF was probably one of the people who either you know, encouraged it or something as well. Again, I think when you're talking about an MJF segment, I mean, very few things are off limits, and MJF is willing to go there with a lot of his opponents. And I thought today was a case where you kind of said the thing you're not supposed to say, but directed towards MJF.
Yeah, I think that's always sort of the goal, is to go as close to that line, and sometimes like step over that line. Like that is, and it is like that is sort of the formula that we have often seen. So the match is happening next week. It is not a title match. It's a title eliminator match in Washington. And one would think that Cole probably wins that match.
You would have to think so. I mean, it's a non-title match.
I'd be pretty stunned if he lost this match, that you would want to, you know, naturally go to the title match and give a believability that Cole can win. And then the question becomes where, honestly, when this segment ended, I thought this is headlining Collision. This was what I thought was going to be the Collision match, but it's next week, but not a title match. So if Cole wins, then the question is where this match happens, because I cannot see this. That doesn't really fit for Forbidden Door, and All In is a long way away. That you would almost think maybe this happens on an early Collision if you wanted to do a title match.
There's nothing that says they can't do it on Forbidden Door. You know, like if they do a Sonata versus like a New Japan star and then have an AEW title defense there as well, it kind of balances things. But maybe it certainly wouldn't be the most exciting match on the show. And, you know, at this point, I think MJF needs to really kind of establish himself as the main guy, somebody who can actually headline a show.
There's also an interesting story, because that's the event where Cole gets the concussion. It was Forbidden Door last year.
Very good point. Right.
And here he is, like, you can have MJF stating, this is where your career nearly ended, and this is the event where it will end.
That's a good point.
So you could put it on. Like, it's certainly, like, the timing of it would certainly work. It just doesn't quite vibe with the theme. But I don't think it's, like, I don't want to see MJF in just some throwaway match for the sake of it against unless it's Toru Yano.
Well, he has been like building up the New Japan Pro Wrestling feud like for really quite a long time. So you do kind of want to see him versus like some flag bearer of New Japan, but you know, we'll see what that happens.
Well, that's what I thought this segment would set up, would be a match for Forbidden Door, but it's the Adam Cole direction.